Oh, hi guys. Welcome to the latest episode of Cricket Draft Insight. I didn't really have a fully formed video in my head, but an opportunity to record came up, and I do love the sound of my own voice, so I thought I'd seize this opportunity to record another video. Let's start with the county championship, my team, and then hopefully that does, lead to some interest and relevance to you guys. So I ended up with about 1,500 points this week, which might not sound spectacular, but I've had some pretty pathetic weeks in the early stages of the season. So the last 2 weeks, I posted a tweet saying I'd gone up about 1,192 places, and then typically day 4 didn't materialise how I wanted. I brought Harmer in, so sorry, my fault. Moriarty, Swepson off the back of good weeks previously, and then we had the rain. A couple of days of the Glamorgan game was lost. I got 3 Glamorgan players, which is maybe something to reconsider. 3 players from one team. The Yorkshire game, there wasn't much action, so I didn't really get much from my bowlers, but I did at least get some contributions from my batters and all-rounders. So I ended up moving up over the course of about 2 weeks. I moved up, I think, just shy of 1,000 places, which tells you I'm not as high, wasn't as high as I want to be, because I'm still not as high as I want to be. But obviously, nobody has a divine right to be towards the top of the table. There's lots of people out there with good cricket knowledge, and that, at the risk of digressing already, was something I wanted to talk about because I noticed, one week, CricViz data analyst won. I clicked on somebody's profile a few weeks ago, and it said they were an Opta analyst. I think the guy who won this week, writes for Cricinfo. If you look at I looked through the top 100 places, so-and-so podcast, 1 or 2 commentators, okay? So I would be interested to know, I'm sure a lot of people towards the top are, just fans, but I'd be interested to know, how many people, maybe work in the cricket industry, and when it comes to things like Opta analysts and, various sort of sports analysts, and some people are obviously very successful. They played fantasy Premier League, and now they're playing fantasy cricket draft, and they're doing well. So what's going on in their mind? What's their mindset? I think I know my cricket. I should be doing well. I've underwhelmed this year. So I'd be interested to know. We talk about heart over head selections, and that was the interesting thing about my selections this week. It was a nice mix in terms of probably the squad and the contributions. I could say Ryan Higgins and Rob Keogh are heart over head selections because they're players I've enjoyed doing well in the past, so I like them. So I have some affection for them. But actually, I still think their head selections. Ryan Higgins is very consistent contributor with bat and ball, very steady away. And Rob Keogh, as we get more into the summer, he's found some form with the bat, taken a few more wickets. So they're good, sensible selections. Harmer is what I would say, is a head selection. And obviously that didn't work this week. And then I'm like, well, Ben Code, Sam Cook, I love these guys, and they're not in my team. But it was a good mix, and at least I got some points on the board. And that's setting me up for the last 6 weeks of the season. Again, I posted a tweet. Okay, if I have one more week where things really don't go to plan, then, no worries. It happens. What I'm hoping is if there's 6 weeks left, I can have 4 weeks that are more consistent with what I've done in the last 2 weeks rather than the early stages of the season. And then I also have double captain to use. So I'm hoping I can have one really stellar week that can give me a good push. And having finished, I think, 463rd last season, been disappointed with how I've started, happy with my selections, but also not happy to not have some players. But hey, you can only have 11 players. I'm currently hoping I can somehow claw back to that top 1,000 places. In terms of some players that have done well this season, mentioned Rishi Patel before. We all know how fantastic Rishi Patel has done. Just signed a new contract at Leicestershire, which is fantastic because I wondered if a team like Essex, with some slightly older opening batters, I think he was there before, might be keen to try and re-sign him. That's great for Leicestershire that they've retained Rishi Patel. Now, I posted a few player profile videos earlier in the season, and some of those players have done well. 1 or 2 haven't really appeared. I did a video about Sol Budinger. Now, he scored a quick fire 79 or something, 71 maybe earlier in the season. He did score another 50, but for the most part, he struggled. I think there's been a duck or two. There's been some 20s and 30s. You know, he looks like a player who can score quickly, but we need more substance. But I just wonder, you know, who is going to be next season's Rishi Patel? When we come to pick players next season, so we now think Rishi Patel is a consistent performer. We know other consistent performers. Graham Clark is one I've been really pleased out of nowhere. He's come back into first-class cricket. You know, I picked up he was playing pre-season. Mind you, so was Scott Borthwick playing the T20s, and he's not playing T20s. But I just had a vibe Graham Clark was going to play county championship cricket again. He did well in the one-day cup a year or two ago. And some of his scores, admittedly, he's been in my squad. He was 12th man, but he scored 100, but Tom Laws outperformed him. But this week I had him, was it 80 odd this week? He was in my team contributing, and he's in that low price range. Rishi Patel. I mentioned Miles Hammond is one. We've spoken before. Kieran Carlson, Safe Zabe. Some of these players, okay, they might just be in form. This might not be the new norm. They might tail off again. But there is a suggestion with a number of these players that maybe now as they reach their mid-20s, maybe they've gone and done something in the winter. Certainly Rishi Patel. He mentioned he'd gone to India to work on spin, but it had helped him with his endurance. Some of these players seem to have found their game. Hammond is one that interests me. I think he's just gone up. He was 88k. He may have just gone up, but he's in a not great Gloucestershire side. You know, somebody again, on average of 29 from his career, seems to be on the up, scoring quite quickly, hitting some sixes. But my batting lineup at the moment, Josh Bohannon, at least got me some runs. He's on a run. I don't know how to acquire the exact stats. I was thinking about buying Cricket Archive in the future, but I'm sure he scored like 20 plus consecutive innings. He has scored in first-class cricket at least double figures, if not triple. And there was some unofficial games for England. And apart from one T20, like he's just on a sensational run of never being dismissed for single figures. And whilst you'd like him to go on a bit more, that does suggest he's got a good technique, but probably a good mindset that he goes in, a wicket's been lost, no fuss. You know, he does not get out immediately. Josh Bohannon, Kieran Carlson, you know, only one run this week. And was then bowling a lot. I mean, great, pick up some wickets, but he was getting smacked, and I thought he was about to lose us some points. But fortunately, the match ended up drawing before he bowled 10 overs. And Graham Clark, as I say, and some contributions from my all-rounders. So again, you know, still hoping to finish strongly this season, but also just an eye on next season, and identifying those surprise packages. Today, as I record this video, it is the morning of T20 finals day, and unfortunately, it looks like there's going to be a lot of rain around. I'm hoping to edit this video quick enough and get it posted today, but we'll see where we're at in terms of what's happening. Obviously, probably if there is some cricket, you'll probably prioritise watching that over this video. So if you do stumble upon this video, probably be after the event. I've made Sam Curran captain. I mean, if I'm lucky, in theory, if they were playing, I've got 11 players on the pitch. But on the subject of the T20 Blast, you know, I like my Tom Smith. I like having Peter Hatzoglu. You know, these players excite me. But next season, I'm going to look a lot more closely earlier at which teams I think are going through, or which teams are already, you know, first and second in the table. So that I'm not left with what I had this year, which was I got to the quarterfinals and I only had about 4 players go through, which is just completely messing with me because I could only make so many transfers. So then, if I'm lucky, I've got 11 players on the pitch. Just because they're the cheaper ones, as we've seen with the county championship. Rishi Patel doesn't mean they're not going to perform, but I could, in theory, have a stronger side. Gus Atkinson in, he didn't even bowl in the last game. I got Matthew Carter in, didn't I? And then he didn't play. So if there is any action in the T20 Blast, I hope that you do well. And I mentioned Sam Curran, my captain, and I know Daniel Sams is one I'm sure a lot of people will go for. So I hope that goes well for you. If it happens, hope you can soar up the table. Hope that you continue doing well in the county championship. Continue rising up the table. I mean, we can't all rise up the table. It's a competition. If some of us are going to rise, some of us are going to have to drop down the table. Some fantastic insight for you there. But like I say, just a little window of opportunity to record, share some thoughts, and if anybody can bear watching it, thank you very much. How's that?